If anybody want to dispute with me, come, let's have a fight.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Aha Moments podcast with me, Kobe Omenaka. My guest this week is Manoj Ranaweera, who has one of the best LinkedIn bios I've ever seen, which says, I single-handedly kickstarted the Manchester tech scene. So we go deep into that and how he did that. He's got the workings out to prove that, which we discussed in this conversation.
Well, I didn't know I was going to fail. So I listened to some very clever people.
But there's 3 takeaways from this conversation I want you to pay attention to. Number 1, share what you're learning, even when it's messy. It builds trust and authority, and people get to know you in ways that you hadn't considered beforehand.
Some people think Kickstarter is about rich.
Yeah.
They're not rich.
Number 2, stop guarding your ideas. Start talking to smart people, even if they're your competition.
We didn't need any money because we didn't need anything.
Number 3, you don't need funding to grow. You just need people who have something to prove and connect with them. Manoj, thank you so much for joining me on Aha Moments podcast. How are you doing today?
Well, thank you.
Awesome. So we first met in back in Manchester, and you're quite prominent in the Manchester tech scene. In fact, your LinkedIn profile says single-handedly kickstarted the Manchester tech scene. That's quite a big claim, isn't it?
Yeah, so I got the evidence to back it.
I want to dig into that. Sure. How so?
Yeah, sure.
Tell me about that evidence. Tell me about how you came to that conclusion. I'm sure it's verified, but for people here listening and hearing you for the first time, it'll be good for them to understand.
Yes. So if you look at today, everybody knows what a tech startup is, what it looks like. Back in the day when I first started in 2004, there wasn't anything. I can't even remember what it was called. And so my tech startup journey started back end of 2004 when I joined a tech startup in London, and they actually advertised through, I can't remember, Telegraph or the Financial Times. And I responded to that. I was joining as a employee, but also as a shareholder. So I was injecting £50,000 into this company. And it was a technology startup. I understood what they were trying to do, but there was no information to do any due diligence, etc. Because early stage, there's nothing out there. So I joined this company.
Did that feel like a bit of a leap of faith then, if you were injecting your own finances into it and there wasn't that clear a brief? How were you feeling when you made that first step, especially because
I just finished my executive MBA at Manchester Business School. So when you finish the MBA, you feel like you got wings. There's nothing you can't achieve. So I was in a very high state of mind, and I felt like, let's go for it. So I joined, and within a few months, it went into voluntary liquidation. Oh, no. But I withheld my cash. So then I started the concept was so profound. I thought, I'll take it forward by myself because I had unlimited confidence in myself, even though I had no experience. So that's what So more successful similar business is TradeShift. I don't know that come. No. But they've done a lot more than we were ever going to do. So anyway, I started that, and within 2 years, I failed it. I lost all my savings. I remortgaged the house, etc. So 2006. Even if you look at 2006, if you look at the tech ecosystem, this thing called TechCrunch just came to UK, and it was run by a chap called Sam Sethi, not Mike Butcher, like thing.
Is Sam Sethi now the chap who's very much involved in podcasting and I've met Sam.
Yes, he has many life changes. Yeah. Yes. So Sam and I and there's another guy we meet on a regular basis because we were all trying to learn about tech startup. He was trying to write about them. And that it came to one of those meetings, he said, we at TechCrunch, we're not hearing about any tech startup outside London. How about we carve the country into 4 areas? And so Manoj can run Northwest, and a guy called Imran Ali could run Northeast. And I think Ivan Pope going to run at the Southeast. I can't remember whether we had anyone for Southwest. Yeah. So we got together one, I think it was 23rd or 27th November 2006 in Manchester. That event was financed by, or the costs were paid by KPMG. We hosted in IoT Institute of Directors at the time. and we had a whole bunch of people came even from Ireland.
Oh, wow.
So that was the start, and that was the first of any tech startup events in Manchester. And because people liked it, and there were nobody else doing anything, we just did another and another. And by 2013, I ran 100 events, and there was nobody else doing anything except the very last year or two, whereas the next wave of two people came and they started running. So until that time, it was just me. So I basically built the tech startup ecosystem by bringing everyone together. We brought investors from US. We were the first to bring Amazon Web Services to Manchester and the Northwest. And those days, Amazon Web Services didn't have any employees in Europe at all. Right. So we did when Microsoft launched what was called the program. It's not the current program. I mean, there was no Azure at that time. We were the launching partner. So we were the gatehouse or gatekeepers to the Northwest. If a VC comes, we will run a event with them. So we still have the old website, but you can't call texarate.org, so anyone can go and look at it. So there was nobody else doing it. And if anybody want to dispute with me, come, let's have a fight. As long as you're shorter, maybe I'll get away with it. But the evidence is there, and people who are part of it knows about it. From time to time, people challenge me, and especially one guy who's got a tech startup, and he's challenged me. And so I said, where were you at that time? He was not even 18. So
right.
Obviously.
So he wasn't even at any of these events. So there's no way.
No. I mean, it's like, but the issue is that, it's not something you could do now, because the Manchester is thriving. At that time, there's nothing, there were still a couple of people building startups. So if you think about Access Pay, for example, I don't know whether you come across Anish Kapoor runs it now. So Anish was very much part of it. If, quite a number of people still in the Manchester scene were part of it. And then if you look at, we stopped in 2013. And if you then look at now, the biggest tech company in Manchester is called Matillion. And if you think about Matillion's journey, and I used to run Northern Tech Awards, which is owned by GP Bullhound now. And so in 2013, I sold it to GP Bullhound. And in 2013, Matillion applied for an award, and they didn't get picked up because nobody really understood what the judges didn't understand what they were trying to do. And it's in the early stages. So if you look at other companies like Peak just sold to, I can't remember the other who they sold to, but even Peak sort of came around just after that, 2013. So there's been a whole, most tech companies you hear about, they were set up way after 2013, but some are still there from old days. Yes.
When you get running these events, what kind of people were coming to these events? Did they feel they had this quote unquote startup, or did they feel that they were starting a business and they wanted help? Was there a difference between?
No, I think it was obviously there were people who were curious about the sector, but we were targeting very much people who were actually building technology companies. So, and then we were targeting investors.
So it wasn't that, just to be clear, mum and pop shops. It wasn't.
No.
Bricks and mortar.
No. Yeah. So we had different formats. We had the Startup for Slaughter. We had Dragon's Lair. The BBC didn't quite like us to call it Dragon's Den. and we had real investors. I mean, it wasn't actually making investment happen. We had companies came out as a simple reason of being there. So I don't know whether you come across a chap called Paul Rawlings. So when the UK's very first accelerator is not Seed Camp, it's actually called Difference Engine, founded by a guy called John Bradford. So when he ran the first accelerator, it's based out of the format of Techstars. And I think he took 9 companies in the first cohort. 2 came from us. So we were somebody then, and we were the only people in the town. Obviously now Manchester is thriving. And then there's a lot more people doing stuff, and they're doing it in a more interesting way. There's a lot of money behind it. It's the same across the world.
So I'm interested in this concept. You saying you finished your executive MBA and you were flying. You just felt like you were untouchable.
I have never ever taken drugs, so I don't know what it's like to take drugs, and whether you sit feel like you're flying. And it was the same, because what a good MBA does is it gives you a toolkit, but it builds your confidence. And it's because I did an executive MBA rather than just a full-time one. We were with team members. We were all working, and some are very senior, and so it's any given time, number of us knew better than the lecturers, so that created a lot of conflicts as well.
Because you had the experience, you had the lived experience, whereas
yes, and then sometimes lecturers only got theory. So when I joined, I was a project manager, so I knew more than the lecturer who was talking about project management. So we have people who are running, for example, I can't remember, I think like Barclays networking systems and all sort of, they knew inside out of how to operate those systems, right? And the subjects around them. So we were like a little bit like troublemakers for the Manchester Business School at the time.
So one of the things I remember about you in those meetings, so first of all, I should say, I joined, there was kind of a partnership. There was something going on at Manchester Metropolitan University where there's like a mini incubator for people who are trying to take in their first steps in business.
Okay.
And that then led me into speaking with other companies in the area. That then led me to yourself and started just going to the networking events. And often you were there like at the front, like hosting these things. And that led me to, then when I moved to London, it was just like a natural step to be, okay, well, there's networking events, there's people here doing things. They want help with finance, they want funding, they want help with the tech stack, they want help with the marketing, they want help with all these different aspects. And it was just kind of fascinating to be around there, even though often I wasn't actually actively participating. So what was the vibe like, in the room with people, side hustling and starting new things, or were they like deep in the trenches looking to change the world?
Yeah. The reason that we lasted from 2006 to 2013 was simply based on, I think, a simple reason that I ran the events not for others. I ran the events for myself because I failed. So let's pick the topic, like let's say, how would you price your software as a service solution, right? And generally at that time there wasn't much knowledge out there. So we will run a workshop, we will run an event, we'll bring people who knew the topic, right? So I was learning, even though I was hosting the event, and other people in the audience were learning. So that's why it worked. That's why it lasted that long. Not big, and everything was priced. Everyone has to pay. We were charging £25, £35. So it was not free events.
There's a lot of value though, for especially at that time. Yeah.
Yes, and we also catered. We had beer, pizza. All our events were catered. So we didn't make people hungry because they come after work. Quite a lot of them work and then trying to build the tech companies on the side. We brought VCs, and it's a smaller community compared to London at the time, and it still is. But we were learning. All of us were learning. So. Yeah, so I think that's why it works. So we had, some companies there went on to raise investment because people always seem to associate investment alongside tech companies, and some were basically bootstrapping, but people were building and failing as well. Yeah.
Can you tell us about some of the companies you started yourself?
Yeah, so I started. So I failed. My first one is called AppDex. So I was trying to. If you think about, if you have suppliers, you create an invoice, you used to send by post, and the suppliers end, depending on how sizable the suppliers accounts payable team has to put the invoice into their systems, rekey. And what we try to do is to make it whole thing automated. So you connect with your finance system. Through us, we were creating a hub. We will translate from, let's say, one system to another and connect with another system, so it becomes seamless. There's no rekeying errors, and that's what we try to create. So obviously I failed because I didn't know how to build a startup. I didn't know how to build a tech product. Plus I didn't have any domain knowledge. I didn't invoice.
So how did you come to that idea for a startup in the first place?
No, because the idea was with the company I joined as an employee.
Oh, okay. So this is the one in London. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, sure.
Yes. So I took the concept forward, and there were two other people did the same. They created their own startups. But so I realized quickly I didn't know anything. So what I try to do is that while I commission the product, so I come from a large company background. So I didn't know how to code. I failed software engineering as well, so I shouldn't have got into this in the first place. I failed software engineering because I couldn't understand neural networks back in the late 90s, early 90s. And yeah, so we failed, and then but what happened is that while I was failing, I was trying to overcome lack of knowledge, and I started studying our competitors. So I wrote about competitors. I wrote about what we were doing. So I was open. So I became the guy who didn't know anything, became the number one blogger on my topic. So I got SAP, which lots of companies people may have heard of, flew me into Vienna for their annual conference. And they didn't know much about the whole topic either. You could say that there were companies actually doing it. So I ended up writing about it. My closest competitor was a company called Attendees from Bangor in North Wales. And it was run by a guy called Rhys Jones. So they thought I knew lots. So they invited me, and then I started writing like analyst reports. So Citibank and others start asking my advice. Okay. So I think the interesting point is that failures can lead to interesting things. But I didn't know I was going to fail. So, but I thought, but I couldn't hold it together because I outsourced a full product development. Our development partner has significant churn in their team. And then we were like in the third team, and they turned up saying, we don't know what we are doing anymore. So at that time, we secured $250,000 funding. And then I got advice saying, okay, don't take the money because this is not going to work. So I listened to some very clever people, and that's the point I decided, I had a lot of pressure from my wife as well, and I had shut it down. My closest competitor, Miss Rhys Jones from North Wales, and I met at an event I hosted in March 2007 called OpenCoffee Manchester. So OpenCoffee Manchester, OpenCoffee was a team or concept initiated by a chap called Saul Klein. At the time, he was VC for Index Ventures, but I'm terrible with names. He's got his own fund, and he's a very known person within the investment landscape. So I met my main competitor at that, and then we started our second company together.
Fair enough. Why not?
And at the time, SlideShare launched SlideShare, right? It's the first. So we had, if you think about the history, we had Flickr and YouTube. So YouTube was about sharing of moving images or films or whatever, right? And then Flickr was about sharing of pictures, right? And then SlideShare was sharing of slides.
Presentation decks.
Right. So because invoices, PDFs, all that, I was in the sort of like document domain, and Rhys was as well, and the Web 2.0 was thriving in 2007. So we thought, why don't we just get together and create Web 2.0 proposition around documents? So that's how eDocker came about. And then obviously it has its own life. And so I had many, and I had a lot of, then I basically, with eDocker, it's quite interesting because we didn't need any money. Rhys knew how to, and we brought on two other people who knew how to do the rest of it. So we didn't need money. The highest spend we had, I think, those days we didn't have Canva. I think we paid something ridiculous, something like £400 to create a logo. These days you wouldn't do that because you can go on Canva and just flip, and it does it for you, and it doesn't cost you anything. That was the highest cost because we didn't need anything.
£400 for a logo is not. Well, maybe 2007 is a lot more expensive, but if you want a designer to make you a logo and give you a branding, that's like their day rate. So there'll be some companies that charge.
Yes. What I'm saying is that I've created logos ever since,
and
I saw a price drop in, and I think one point I was paying £50. So if you think about £450, then I even use Fiverr. Today I don't have to pay anything to create a logo.
That's fair.
So that's how you could see how the market has changed. I'm not saying that there's no space for graphic designers. There is, but if you're a tech startup and if you're bootstrap, you want to preserve your limited cash, you don't have to spend money on creating a logo.
There's cases that go both ways. The Nike logo and the Virgin Media and Virgin, those were both like very, very cheap logos that were made and then became iconic. But on the other hand, was it Next Computers that Steve Jobs went to after Apple? I think they spent hundreds of thousands on their that's a different proposition. They had obviously the finance and backing behind become the whole brand, but it can go either way, right?
Yeah. But I'm talking about startups, tiny startup who doesn't have money. There's no point spending money. That's what I'm saying. So where are we?
With eDocker.
Yeah, basically, so I team up with my competitor, which is quite so the lesson from there is that don't ignore competitors. You don't have to give away your secrets, but you never know what these type of conversations will lead to. And I can tell you another bit. I mean, and then because I was a main blogger, so once we had this guy fly into Manchester, and we had a meet, and he asked me a question saying, who should they buy? Which are the three companies? So I recommended three, and I said buy Reese's company because it's the best one and it's young. And I think after 6 months, they bought it.
There you go. So that's, I mean, you said, you said a competitor, one of your competitors initially 10 minutes ago, and my mind went directly to there's some kind of animosity there. But that's not necessarily the case, is it? That's often not the case.
I think, my thinking is that, you got to be fear of competitors, or rather you need to understand your competitive landscape. Because the big problem right now is that all of us, assuming you are creating something not for AI, you're creating something for human consumption, we only have 24 hours a day. And there are so many different, I'm talking only about software products, right? So there are only so many products you can use if it's created for humans, right? And we are all of us are fighting for your limited time. Let's say we got 18 hours of your time. We're trying to flog something to you, right? All of us are doing it, different things. So that's where the limitation is. But then if you look at competitors, there might be dominant players, but it doesn't mean that all of us will buy from the dominant player. There may be issues that leads to not liking them. Their culture could be something. It might not necessarily be the product, or it could be the product itself, how it solved the problem, the usability. And that means that number of people can survive, compete in that landscape for the same proposition. So I don't think you need to be, if you are venture back, obviously the whole game is you want to be number one because, you get to get the 100x multiples. So, but if you're not, you can easily coexist in a market. So I don't think people should be frightened of competitors. I mean, for a long time, the question was that what if Google creates it tomorrow? You're out of business. I think there has been some instances that, people went out of business because of Google and others. But in most cases, Google would not dare. I mean, when I was running eDocker, Microsoft for a number of times tried to create a similar environment, right? It might be some tiny lab project in Microsoft, but they try to, and they try to do it through Facebook. Failed, right? And you could even, I mean, there are plenty of case studies around the world. Big players trying to go after a market maybe dominated by a tiny player. And I don't think you should be frightened of competition. There can be fights, right? Real fights, but to get into real fight, both has to be big players. Otherwise, it's not a real competition because you could be serving a specific market segment, a niche segment that the main competitor probably wouldn't touch it because the finances unit economics doesn't make sense. But you as a small startup, it does make sense, right? And you have the capacity to spend enough time to dominate that market segment. So I think that there are different strategies.
And also in this case, in your case, your competitor could be your business partner, right? So
yeah.
So this podcast, I'm sorry, you sold eDocker, right? After,
Yes.
A nice happy exit.
I wouldn't say, I think both my exits happened and I think they were the right decisions, but they were unfinished jobs. Sure. Because we never really got to the peak. So, but I mean, I was talking to, before this podcast, I was talking to text, when you build a startup and when you have an exit, there's this unfinished nature associated with it. And some people then build another startup to solve that same problem after the non-compete period has ended. So one of our texts, I remember, It's just now two of them. One who's left because his business didn't quite work out, and he's back. He just asked, he was supposed to go somewhere. I said, "Oh, are you from that? Are you there now?" No, no. He said, "I got a new startup," and it's the same
Yeah.
problem, but solving in a slightly different way. And then I got another company who had exit, and he's having another go. So, and I've seen even SlideShare founders launch job recently with AI and everything, but the basic problem they're trying to solve is the same one. But I think they're having a hard time because the market isn't right anymore. Well, who knows? I mean, they were very clever people.
So what are you doing right now, Manoj? You seem to be on LinkedIn
So,
talking about other events in Manchester, which is still good to see that things are popping off. And I need to attend one. Now that I'm back in Manchester, I need to definitely attend.
Okay, so you can come tomorrow.
I can't come tomorrow. I didn't know about tomorrow as we record this, but I will definitely come soon.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm basically trying to help myself and others. I think I don't like the word saying I'm helping others and there's no benefit to me. The help is a highly misused word. So I'm building tech companies and I'm trying to help others to build tech companies. So that hasn't changed since 2006, but I'm doing it through three ventures of mine. So I restarted Kickstarted, which was the one that built Manchester's tech startup ecosystem back in sort of 2018, 2019. Then we had COVID, obviously. So Kickstarted today is a community of tech founders. So we are not trying to build ecosystems anymore. You don't need to because it exists. We are just a small part of it, but all our founders are, we're trying to be a good partner in their start to exit journey. So we run workshops, we run events, we talk to each other, and all of us are building tech companies, including myself. And we have a number of them who had exits and come back and building again. Some of them have come back and put money into some of our other companies. So that's TechSarray. Then I wanted to sort of understand what's happening in the UK tech investment landscape. So when I started this, some of the products out there, I thought their data was incorrect. Quite a lot of data was not very good. So we start collecting data, and that company is now called Deal Lite, a bit like Crunchbase, but a light version. And that's why it's called Deal Lite, Lite. And what we do is we collect three sets of data. We identify the tech companies who raise investment, how much they raise from who, right? So which investors put money in. So these investors then can be considered as active investors. Then you can look at them as saying, okay, these investors has actually invested into a particular segment. So if you're raising money for a particular stage in a particular segment, then you could look at some of these investors and say, okay, they might actually be interested in
what you're doing,
my proposition. And so we collect data. We have two press release sites. One is publishing just the tech investment stories of UK companies. The other is doing the mergers and acquisitions. So, who exited, who bought another company. One of those companies has to be a UK. So that's the light. Then your podcast is called Aha, and the aha moment is basically if you maybe my aha means that you come up with ideas, right? You say it's the light bulb moment. I struggled since I started because I'm basically funded by myself, right? And it's a very hard journey. And if you don't have capital, you can't hire people. People are very expensive. That's why you raise investment to actually majority of that goes to pay for people. Stand 1% of startup raise investment. So what about the 99%, right? Some of them thrive, others die. But main reason is that they don't have people to help them. So what if you can find free talent, right? Free talent who would help them. So when COVID happened, so COVID started and we got the lockdown in March. I saw one of our Tuxedo members talking about something. It's actually the same company now restarting, right? The one of the and so I sort of flashed onto that. This is a time that we had furloughed individuals and people are stuck in houses, having to look after
wanting
kids.
things to do, wanting outlets, want things to do.
Yeah, there was nothing they can work. They were not allowed to work. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to connect these furloughed individuals with tech startup who are really struggling? They haven't got the the talent they need. So I connected these two through called Furloughed Life. So we came up with the idea, had a team internally with Kickstarted members. On 2nd April, went live by 7th. By 20th, we had the first tech company subscribing. So we didn't know what we were doing. So that was like the, let's say a little aha moment. But we immediately had a backlash from Manchester community saying, "Oh, this is not acceptable."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it the unpaid aspect of it? Was it?
I think there were many things. Yeah, that's one thing. The other thing is that they felt that we should be helping other people rather than tech startups, because some people think tech startups are about rich.
Yeah.
They're not rich.
There's a lot of people struggling their lives on the line, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. So I ran it, and we didn't really know what we were doing. When I say we, it was basically me with few people sort of advising me. We ran it from April to July. We made something like £400. We gave it to NHS charities because obviously there was a backlash, and some people were asking, is this charity? Is this not a charity? So I did that, and then during that period, I came up with the concept for SkilledUp Live. My take is that even in 2020, there was sense that AI is coming, and it's going to replace people, and it's getting harder and harder to get a paid job, and you can't get a paid job if you don't have experience. It's harder. So where do you go to get experience? There wasn't a place in the world. There are internships, there are other things, but there isn't a global place that you could go and simply get experience. So we basically started creating that through SkilledUp Live. And the other side is trying to help myself and others in a similar situation where, how do you build a startup if you don't have money to pay for salaries? You can't go very far. And so that's what we're trying to do. So we are basically backing the underdog, and I'm basically collecting humans on both sides. And the whole world can go. Whole world can have AI agents. Let me just collect humans. I'll be happy, because I think there's going to be an AI reset. I mean, that's the conversation I had before this. There's going to be an AI reset in a couple of years' time, when organizations realize that actually we don't know anything. All we know is
same things
to ask a question from AI or fire up a AI agent, but we don't actually know anything ourselves. The people who set up the AI agent are no longer with us. We have no idea how to run. If that disappear, we have no business. So I think there's going to be some sort of a reset, and I think the humans have a place in the world, and I'm just collecting. And we are so tiny right now. We are handicapped, and I'm working on getting out of that situation, which is our version one is just a 3-day WordPress hack, and we nearly ran it for 5 minutes. It's breaking apart. So we are building version 2, and I think once we build version 2 and went live, I think we'll be able to iterate fast, and we'll be able to understand how this human AI thing is changing. And I think we ought to be in a situation, provided I don't destroy this situation, where we have a good understanding of this change and how to help people equipped, not just become AI folks, but I necessarily, I don't know the answer here, but I know there's going to be trouble ahead. And what can we do to help? How do we? So I think there's a lot of questions here. So my job, I feel like, is collecting humans. I'm collecting on one side humans who want to improve their life by getting more experience and skills. On the other side, humans who want to create things but don't have money to
do so. Yeah,
get going. And I think also by some of the tech companies we have right now, in some cases, they are 100% of the team actually come from us, the volunteers. And some cases it's small, and we have lots of problems in terms of running. SkilledUp Life is not an easy task at all, but we are collecting humans. So these humans, when we have the right technology, which is what we are building, and there's no AI in it at the moment, it's just normal technology. I think some people talk about AI, it's just sometimes it's just a clever algorithm. We will have some sort of AI later on, but we are creating technology that will give us a better understanding of these humans. And hopefully we will be in a situation to be able to help them more. and help ourselves in the process. So, and we want to do this as independent as possible without, we have not taken any UK taxpayer money. We ideally want to do this without investor cash, because the minute I take investment, there will be something else. It will be about how to maximize more money. If you tell any investor about what SkilledUp Life is, and I say we have 58,000 volunteers, they say, okay, let's find a way to get more value, extract more cash out of this 58,000. That's how they see it, and that's not the big picture. My picture is, there's 6-7 billion people out there. They all have the same problem, right? They all want to improve their life, and most of them will be employees. And how do you get your job? And I think, the job market has changed because people stay for a very short time in a particular job. They are interested in getting the maximum out of the company in terms of learning experience, and then they would take that and go for a higher paid job. So the loyalty has disappeared. Mm-hmm. So that means that companies only want actually people who can actually deliver value. They don't want to train people and then lose those trained individuals to someone willing to pay higher wages. So the job market has changed drastically. And I see people only staying in jobs for 6 to 18 months. So we are creating real opportunities for people with experience. And we are trying to cater for the whole population above 18. So we have 3 segments. We have the youngster. So I'm taking on a 19-year-old with no experience into my team. So she should be joining maybe tomorrow. And we have those with 20 to 30 years experience looking for career transition. They are sort of stuck in a job. They can't get if you want to get to the top, director or head of a team, sometimes you can't because there's maybe somebody's already filling it. That person's not moving out. So we can, they can join and get the experience. And the third group is, we want to go after the retired or semi-retired and help them give back in terms of their knowledge and be appreciated, because it might be the AI era, but you still need common sense.
They can provide common sense.
Yes, they can provide life experience, which is what something.
So this podcast is Aha Moments. We've got a quick fire round now.
Yeah, sure.
So the first question is that I ask, and these are questions that I ask everyone. Can you think of an aha moment in a product or service that you've built for your, and this is for your customers, and how did you find out about this aha moment, and how do you then direct everything to get to that point?
Yeah, so if you look at SkilledUp Life, we are our best customer. So it took us 13 months to realize that the way to unlock the talent pool we have is through an HR volunteer.
Right. So you had an HR person join the team?
Yes. So typically you won't have a HR person in-house until you are like 20 people or whatever, right? 15, 20 people. So it's a luxury. So as a tech startup, you don't normally think about HR person, but HR is so crucial for our business. And we realized that, and we have then started to tell our customers, please, I know you want developers, I know you want marketers, but take an HR person, because you got to learn how we operate how volunteers operate. Volunteers are different from paid talent. Paid talent is, in a way, they are going from paycheck to paycheck, right? If you don't deliver, you don't get paid. Whereas with volunteers, there's no payment involved. They are here because they want to get something out, and you got to make sure that you bring them on, you welcome them. You don't treat them as contractors and say, here's some work, go away, come back when it's done. It will not work. You have to engage with them. So HR helps you to find the best talent and keep them, help them with the performance, etc. So we realized that after 13 weeks, we didn't realize it because I suddenly had this aha moment. But we had a person who joined, Elise, who joined us. Basically, she wanted to transition into HR, but every time she applied, she won't even hear from them because she didn't have HR experience. She didn't have HR knowledge, but she had other work experience. So she came and said, can I do this? I said, yeah. And she set up, she wrote the books, the manuals, everything. She did everything. I mean, she was amazing. And before she even finished the volunteer term, she got a job from an American.
Oh, wow. There you go.
And yeah, so she's a lady in red on our website. And obviously, a little bit old story now.
But that's, I mean,
so I think that was
that's full testament then, isn't it, to why it works and how it works and the ethos of the company.
Yeah, but we still have a challenge because we're trying to help tech founders on one side. And, I'm a good case study. I don't listen to others. And most tech founders don't listen to others because we think we got all the answers to everything. So they would just come and they think, oh, it's free talent. Okay, it's going to solve my problem. I'll subscribe for a month and I'll get 30 people. It never works. I tell them, please don't try that. It will not work. They don't believe me. I mean, and then I start. You had to learn the system. You had to come up with, you had to be prepared when volunteers join your company. You have to have tasks for them to do. You had to know what outcomes you want to get to. So all this has to be prepared. If you don't prepare, it's not going to work out. So they don't listen, but some of them have started to listen, and they are the ones who's getting the maximum value. So it's okay to come up with aha moment, but
Second aha moment question is, for yourself, can you think of a product or service that you buy personally, and what was the aha light bulb moment for you when you first heard about it or started using it?
Okay, so I use free software as much as possible. I pay for very few software. So I think the best one is Canva. Right. Canva makes you a designer.
Does it make you a good designer?
And what is a good designer? Why do you need to be very good? Unless it's your profession. Design to me, especially if you're in a tech startup environment, is something that you put together to get somebody's attention. Then once you got that attention, you go into a conversation. So you don't need to be a great designer, but it is more than enough to help you become a designer. So we use Canva. We use a free version. Every graphic that I created recently all came from Canva, except sometimes Canva can't do it. Then, ChatGPT started creating graphics and it seems to get it right, but it got the same subtle color palette, which is awful. But so I think Canva is one good example. It's done immense help for ourselves. It's amazing.
I mean,
I'm talking about free version.
That's fine. I mean, I use the paid version primarily because of I work with a few different companies, and to be able to have the different brand kits in one place is valuable to me, because that just really helps to. I don't have to think about that. If I don't have to think about the brand kit, I just know that one over there, they're their fonts, they're their colors. Fine, I'm already in the ecosystem. But Canva is astonishing, I think, and it's a democratization of design, really, because it's all online. So you don't have to download any heavy software. B, the main competitor was Photoshop and Illustrator and those kind of ilk. And there's a very steep learning curve with these programs. And it's difficult in Photoshop and Illustrator to select an item, put it onto the actual canvas. In some of these, it's difficult to actually set the size of the actual canvas you want to play with. Sometimes it's difficult to actually say, I want an A4 piece of paper, or I want 1,000 by 100. That's an effort in itself with a lot of these things. But then to get like an icon and place it dead center, so horizontally, vertical, horizontally, is difficult in these things. And Canva comes along and goes, oh, well, we'll just snap it there. Boom, there you're done. So something that could take half an hour takes 2 minutes, and very intuitive with Canva. And that's where I've had the same thing where I've just gone, well, this is what I'm going to do now. And there was a colleague I worked with last year, and I was a social media digital marketing consultant, and she said you have to make all the designs in InDesign. Design's like one of the worst of these. If you don't know the system, it's like so tedious to use, and it's got all the different layers and everything's kind of hidden somewhere. And I said, well, okay, I'll do that in InDesign. And she gave me a tutorial. But then I went away and spent half a day and created templates in Canva. And then I said to her, okay, so which one did I do in InDesign? Which one did I do in Canva? And she didn't know. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to use Canva, because the Canva one took me 10 minutes. That InDesign one, every time I need to redo something, it'll take me half hour because I need to research the thing to find the layer. It's just, I agree with you. Canva is chef's kiss of a product. Final aha moment question, Manoj, is a personal aha moment or life hack.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to think.
Well, you're a cyclist, aren't you?
Yeah. So what about cyclists? I don't know whether there's an aha moment. I mean, I used to fall down when I started, but I don't fall down now. So I stay on the bike. I don't know about the cycling. I think one thing I haven't achieved is that I'm struggling to become efficient. I always want to become efficient, but I can't. So I've basically accepted that this is who I am. I can procrastination is okay. I think maybe it's my way of cooling down. So I'm sort of accepting who I am. I still like to be more efficient.
I think understanding your own personal self is important, because if you're fighting the procrastination side of you and that causes friction, if you've now said, okay, I accept this is going to be how I am, and this means that you can then fold it into how you do your day. If you know that sometimes you might have a list of things to do, but it might take you until 11 o'clock at night to actually start doing it. But when you start doing it, then you get going, then fine.
Yeah. So the other thing is, I think that sleep matters, right? I think there's a lot of people accept this now, because I used to work till like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock sometimes. I don't do that anymore. So I try to sleep before 12, ideally around 11. And I feel like, obviously I haven't achieved much, and therefore I should work longer. But, I'm realizing now, obviously I'm 57 years old, so age is another matter. But so I think as a life hack, I think you want to get some sleep. You need that time.
And I'm a big fan of I'm a big fan of napping as well, to make sure you. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I had a nap once or twice, but I feel guilty. So
I feel if you need to do it, you need to do it. Yeah. Manoj, where can people find you online if they want to get in contact with you?
Oh, you can just type or ask ChatGPT. But
are you like myself? You got a unique name that, at least online?
No, I mean, to my sadness, there are other 3 at least Manoj Ranaweeras in the UK. But when I first came here, there was just me. But if you do type Manoj Ranaweera, you should be able to find it. I think I spend most of my life on LinkedIn. So I treat LinkedIn as my inbox. I don't use email that much. I'm not sort of addicted to the phone, but LinkedIn, yes. Because we provide support through LinkedIn. We find customers. We have conversations. So LinkedIn is probably the best place if you want to catch me. But if you try to connect with me to try to sell me, I can smell you a mile away. So
I had someone literally yesterday, we were having a nice conversation, and he said something subtle in LinkedIn. I was like, oh, okay. And then I silenced. I didn't respond. And then now he's literally, this morning, he's like, hey, we're having such a good conversation. I just wanted to help you in this way. I was like, okay, I know what you're doing, because I do it myself. So I just leave it. But Manoj, thank you so much for connecting. Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. And we'll put all the details for people to connect with you. I'll put your LinkedIn URL directly in the show notes and in the comments on the YouTube version of this video, so if people can find you easily. And I'll definitely come to one of the events in the next few weeks and shake hands for the first time in at least a decade, if not more.
Thank you so much, Kobe. It's a nice podcast, and I appreciate the time and the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Manoj, and thank you very much for listening and or watching this podcast episode. Please do get in contact with Manoj. All of his details are in the show notes, in the links below, or in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Please leave a comment. Please leave a review. Please get in contact with me. Please get in contact with Manoj. We'd love you to do. And whilst you're here, it's not quite over yet. We'd love you to write a review on Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify. Leave a comment, leave a rating. That really helps us. Or share this podcast episode with one friend. One friend. Just one. It really helps. And stick around for the next video if you like this. There'll be a video, little thumbnail coming up. Check that out for a bit more about me, a bit more about what I do. Or it'll be an episode of Aha Moments podcast, which is highly recommended for you, personally chosen for you. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.